What's going on? This is Chad with Infidel Body Armor, Scott Wheeling, Briggs Core Dynamics. We were just cruising along. We were talking about kind of the situation that we had set up for our driven DVD, where a family has to bug out, had to leave in the middle of bad situation for whatever reason. They had to leave, and it's kind of dangerous. So we're driving down this road right now, and I just asked the question. I was like, hey, if we did have to leave, and this was the road we were on, should we be traveling at day or traveling at night? We kind of went over some of the pros and cons of traveling at night. So if you did travel at night, sound travels further. Someone could hear you coming with your engine, or they could see your headlights.
If you didn't have night vision and you couldn't see too far ahead of you, you were trying to keep it low using your parking lights, you could roll up on something like a roadblock or a danger area that you weren't prepared for.
Right, you wouldn't know you're on that roadblock or danger area until your headlights were on it. So that puts us, in every situation maybe a little bit different. Maybe it is safer to travel at night, but considering around here, we think it'd probably be better to go during the day. So, let's say you're traveling during the day, you've got a convoy or whatever, and it starts to get dark. You decide you want to pull off, get some rest, sleep during the night, and that's where I decided we should probably be recording this. So, Scott, what are we looking for as we're driving down the road? What's a consideration where we want to pull off?
Well, obviously not in populated areas, not in an area that people travel, so get off lines of drift. If there's only one place for water, you can get water there, but don't hang out there. You don't want to camp out there. Get your vehicle, and if you can partially get it obscured by the landscape or trees or bushes or something, that would be great. But then we were talking about, you don't hang around your vehicle. You want to have a good overwatch position so you can see your vehicle. The vehicle's a big target. I'm thinking about like the Wild West, and they used to circle the wagons. If we had a convoy, that creates a pretty big target. So, and arrows didn't go through the wagons. Bullets will go right through these vehicles. So, when we want to kind of hide the vehicle, if you can, and provide overwatch on it.
So, like, say somebody did see your vehicle and they wanted to, sneak up on it and maybe see what was going on. Maybe they are just scavenging for supplies, or maybe they have ill intent. They're going to see your vehicle way before they see a small group of people 100 yards away. So that way it could kind of just be like maybe a lure, or you could,
Yeah, you could use your vehicle in several different ways. Maybe you want to camouflage it really good, or maybe you do want, if another vehicle goes by, they're going to stop and see if you have fuel. Maybe you could use it as bait.
Yeah, if that was your objective. And so I actually have, you mentioned camouflage it real good. So depending on where you're at, you've got options, right? You could trim tree branches, maybe just park it down in a ravine. Would that be smarter? Behind a hill? But if we live out here in the West, we're in Arizona right now, and there's just not a whole lot of ways to camouflage, and all that takes time to cut branches and stuff. And so I've actually got a U.S. military surplus camouflage net in the back of my truck, and we're going to set it up, show you how big it is, and how well it works. Anything else?
No, we'll see how it goes.
All right.
I like it.
All right, so checking back in, we just found a little spur, a little dirt road off on the side of the road, and we've been going down this maybe a quarter mile, maybe a little bit more, but we're seeing some berms right here, piles of dirt, there's some trees. I think we're gonna try to tuck right behind here, set up, and kind of simulate our what do you call it when you stay for the night?
The RON, rest overnight?
RON.
Or hide site?
All right. So I'm just going to turn this around. You guys can take a look at what we're seeing. Okay, I'm gonna shut it off and we'll pick back up once we get the tarp out, or the netting out. All right, so we found a spot. It's kind of down a little ravine type thing. There's a road just over these trees. It's kind of, every now and then you can see a big truck go by, but we've got lots of hills and small trees in between us, so I don't think they're gonna see the truck that well, but we're gonna go ahead and get the tarp out. This is the tarp, not the netting. So this is how it comes, and we're gonna go ahead and cut it open and set it up. You can watch and see how that goes. All right, so we just set it up. That didn't take but 2 minutes, maybe. First time. My Dodge 2500 extended cab, fully covered. There's a ton of material on this. Check out how much extra we have in the front, on the sides, and the back. There's enough here easily for 2 vehicles to fully cover. And so what we're gonna do is cut it down so it's just perfect for this vehicle, and keep the second one for other things. So what we are talking about, okay, Scott, why don't you talk about how we were going to do the LPOP for this location?
So you can see the terrain and how it is. Like Chad said before, it's rolling. The road's back this way. We have rolling hills, kind of like foothills in between us and the road, which is awesome. We're pretty covered here, and the camouflage just really helps. Then as you can see behind Chad, there's a nice little hill there, and there's another one here. If you had enough people, you could set up 2 overwatch positions or 2 LPOPs to watch over your vehicle. If you just have 2 people, like it's just Chad and I, we would just set up in one, so we could relieve each other and give each other breaks. And depending on if that hill, your line of sight can see over that hill over there, I would probably pick that hill because you could see people coming from the road easier. But if it's not tall enough by the time I get up there and check it out, then I would pick the hill behind Chad because you can see the avenue of approach that we took off of the main road to get here.
Cool. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and cut this down, and if we have enough time, we'll set up a small LPOP just to show that there's a hide and that there's plenty of material to do that. All right, here we go. All right, so check this out. There was enough for the truck, and this is all that's left over. It's a ton of material, and plenty enough for, like we said, 2, possibly even 3 vehicles, depending on how many vehicles, how big they are. But while we were cutting this, we had some ideas that we kind of were talking about. We used knives, and it did the job, but it would have been really better to cut it with scissors or using medical shears.
Yeah,
that would have been
something.
something.
Go bag, grab your medical shears out of your go bag or your blowout kit, and it'd be a lot easier cutting this.
Something else to point out here is that there's already ties here on the ends. Makes it easier to stake it down if you wanted to stake it down or hang it up on other trees or
look how much we still have on the side.
Yeah, like we could totally
we could do three vehicles easily with this.
One could even be set up as a shade, if you were sitting out in the sun. It's a ton of material. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and even trim this down even further because this is way more material than really I want to set for one vehicle. And
And one of the points that we brought up while we were doing this is, hey, this is how you ought to do it. You ought to set it up so you just have enough for your vehicle, and then you can cut everything else up. You can have them in different bundles. The big one, obviously, for the vehicle, then a couple hindsight bundles, and then when you need them, they're already cut up. You don't just store this thing in this box that it came in for years and never get it out until you need it, because then it's going to waste a bunch of time that you could have already had your stuff set.
Yeah, and it's going to take up a lot less space too. I'm betting once I cut this down where it's just perfect for my truck, that I'll be able to roll this up and put some 550 cord around it, and it'll just stay underneath my, either under my seat or in my toolbox, and it'll take up way less space than it did before. So I'm going to keep on cutting on this, and then we'll set up the hide site. All right, for the LPOP piece of fabric, we cut this spot right here. Just cut it off of the larger piece, and this is probably
6 by 8 feet?
6 by 8, maybe a little bit bigger. But that's all you'd need to do is cut yourself out a smaller piece. We're gonna go set it up right now. Yeah. All right, so we hiked up the hill to go set up the LPOP. I'm not sure if you can see it in this image or not. Let's take a look. The truck is down there, and we're up this hill, and this is our LPOP that we set up, our little blind hide site. Scott, why don't you tell us why you chose this spot?
Why did we choose this location? It's because we're not at the crest of the hill. We're at the, I guess, the military crest of the hill, which is below the top. So we're not going to silhouette ourselves. Another thing, we have right over here, we have this draw. It's kind of like a valley between these two hills, but it goes down. And if we had to get out of here, we could use that for cover and concealment almost all the way about 100 yards from the truck. We're approximately 200, 250 yards right now. So we could get out, so you want to give yourself like a little escape route if you can. And you put it down, not only camouflage from someone down there looking at us, but someone from the air, and they couldn't see us. If somebody walked up behind us, we still have a little bit of camouflage. There's a lot of concealment up here on this hill. I mean, if you didn't have one of these, let's not say that.
Well, if you didn't, you'd use one of the, a tree or a brush or rocks. You'd blend into something that you had available, right?
Right, absolutely. Since there is so much concealment up here in green. Now over on the other hill we were talking about, there's less. So you would definitely want one of these nets or something to help you conceal yourself. But this is a pretty good spot. We can look at it from 50 yards away and see what you think.
Yeah, let's do that. All right, so we're staring right now at the blind. You can't see it, so I'm gonna run up to it and so you can take a look at how well it moves.
The reason he's breathing so heavy is because this is the second time he had to run up there. So from this position, we're not quite 50 yards away, and it's pretty hard to see in the daylight. He's right in front of it now. Once he gets in there, he is totally concealed, and the location, tactically, it gives you good escape routes from the LPOP if you had to.
All right, so right now I'm just looking right at the vehicle. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a red truck just to the left. He rolled up on us while we were filming. But right there is the truck all covered. And, at first glance, you're not seeing it at all. And anyways, we're gonna head down there. All right, well, as Scott's wrapping up the netting, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. So what we had was a gigantic camouflage net. It's available. The one we used was desert. There's also woodland for you guys that live on the East Coast in California. It's huge. You're gonna want to unroll it as soon as you get it and cut it down to the size that you want. So we ended up figuring that there was enough for about 3 vehicles, 3 big vehicles. And we cut a little piece out. we used for an LPOP. And anyways, you guys can check it out. It's for sale at infidelbodyarmor.com. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching.